So, marketing research is the process by which a company will collect data from their target market or from potential customers in order to help improve their business. Certain ways that their business can be improved would be, for example, making improved business decisions. This could be something like budgeting. Maybe they get information that shows that it wouldn't be wise to spend more money on this compared to this, and stuff like that. You could determine new business opportunities. Maybe there's information that you get that kind of shifts your company into a new direction and into a new market that could provide more opportunities for you to make more profit. It could also help and draw in more investors. Maybe you have enough numbers, or once you move into that new market, different investors will want to put money in your company. And then lastly, it could help you prevent failure within your business. Certain failures could be devastating and very costly, and that's the last thing a company would want to do. So those are 4 ways that marketing research helps improve a company. So basically, when a company does research and does collect data, there's 2 main sources that they can collect it from. There's primary data, and then there's secondary data. Normally, primary data is preferred, but not always. So primary data is data that you get by conducting your own studies and research. Secondary data would be data that you collect from other sources and research that's already been done. The pros to primary sources would be you can make sure that it's specific towards your business and your products. You can also conduct the research the way you want it to be done. So say your target market is the younger generation. Probably the most effective way to get data from them would be through online surveys, because they're always on their phones, stuff like that. Secondary data does have its advantages too. It could be something that it's more cost effective. The data's already out there. You don't have to spend your money or resources conducting that research. It can also be time consuming. Again, it's already out there. You don't need to spend time going out there and collecting it yourself. So basically, you want to choose which one would be good for your company, because sometimes the secondary data isn't always going to be specific towards your company, and when you're researching and collecting data, you want to minimize the margin of error. You want to be as certain as possible when you collect your data, because you don't want to make any mistakes. There are many different ways to collect data. You have your basic ones like surveys, door-to-door, online surveys, stuff like that. There's also focus groups. That's a big one too. And then one that kind of caught my eye after reading this chapter was the experimental method, which I've never heard of, but I thought it was interesting. It's where marketers will have 2 groups, and then they'll manipulate one group, and then they'll compare the data that they collect from them to a group that hasn't been manipulated. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, but it's not used very often, probably because it's not as effective as the other ways. Along with marketing research, another aspect would be marketing intelligence, which would be to analyze the data that you have and gathering it to try and make your business more successful. So you want to see if you can make daily operations more efficient, or try and improve your business strategy, something like that. And then also within the marketing research would be big data, which is something that I'm still kind of unsure about. But after the research that I did, it's like a huge set of data that can't be like processed or analyzed like regular data can, just because of its size. And it's basically something that analyzes like human behavior and stuff like that. So that's my understanding of it all. So when you're conducting marketing research, there's something called a research process, and this is the steps that are needed to take in order to ensure that you get your data correctly. You don't want any like poor data or something, or miss a step that could create a loss in profits. So basically, the first step would be to define the problem. This is the reason why you're doing your research. It could be a number of things, but whatever it is, it would be specific towards your company. The second step would be conducting exploratory research. This is more analyzing why this needs to be done, that type of thing. Thirdly, it would be formulating your hypothesis, which would be why you guys think that you have this problem, and why do you guys think you have to create this, collect that data in order to make the improvements. Fourthly, there's something called a research design, which would be like a master plan or process that would be created by marketers in order to choose which and how sort of you collect your data. So certain aspects could be, you know, the timeline that you're going to be collecting data, the different techniques that could be involved, like how you're going to do it, or like potential interferences, like what could create potential harm while collecting your data, and what you want to avoid. Also within that, you're going to want to choose the best sources that you want. Like, do you want your primary or your secondary, or a little bit of both? So fifth, you have collecting the data. This is where you're actually going to follow through with your data collection, and you know, whether that's through primary or secondary. But that's step number 5. And then step number 6, you're going to want to interpret your data. So you're going to want to analyze the data that you collected and compare it to your hypothesis, and see how they go together, and see the improvements or different strategies that you guys can create in order to help make your business. And then what you're going to want to do after those 6 steps is you're going to start back over and see how well those improvements were. Overall, it's marketing research is something to help provide an advantage over your competitors, and help create a more successful business, and get a better idea of your customers that are out there, and how you can bring in more money and make sure that they're going to buy it. But the big thing is having that advantage over your competitors.